right, so now we're going to discuss the nurse check-in process as well as the doctor check-in process. So our scenario now is that the patient is marked as checked in and they're waiting to be seen by medical personnel. The patient is called by the nurse escorts the patient to the private exam room, and the nurse logs onto the system. As you can see, we're logged in as Nurse Betty. Nurse Betty will now locate the patient information on the screen. And we were working with Andrea Sanders, so we'll go ahead and select our patient. And next we'll click on the medical summary. In order for the nurse to begin the examination process, she must locate the information on her screen and navigate to the area in order to enter the patient's vitals. She will do that by going to Health Record and clicking on the paper icon and expanding the other departments and their examinations. And we're going to go to Internal Medicine and press the green plus sign to expand that. And we're going to start with a consultation, and we'll click on New. On the consultation screen, the nurse will record the vitals collected from the previous steps, the reason for the patient visit or encounter, and other personal medical history, along with the problem list and any SOAP observations. As you can see, this screen allows us to capture the subjective, objective, evaluation, and planning. We also can capture the blood pressure, the temperature, and some additional vital information regarding our patient. We're also able to capture ICD-10 information along with the problem list and drugs for our patient. Once we've captured these elements, we'll go ahead and click Save. As you can see, the administrative screen for our patient Andrea Sanders has now been updated with the medical information, with the reasons for the active encounter, and also created a health record for the clinical examination given by Nurse Betty. Now that the vital information has been captured, Nurse Betty is ready to send the patient to Dr. Johnson. And Dr. Johnson will review the patient's information and prepare to give the examination. Dr. Johnson has logged into the system and is going to locate the patient in the system. And our patient again is Andrea Sanders, so we'll go ahead and select Andrea. From the patient administration screen, we'll go back to medical summary, and we're going to go back to the health record that Nurse Betty entered here. And we'll go ahead and we'll select that examination. From the active clinical examination screen, Dr. Johnson documents the physical exam information, any SOAP observations, and records a request for lab tests to help diagnose the patient. Dr. Johnson has documented information that he has gathered from the patient's visit. While he was examining the patient has stressed that there is some pain in their throat. So Dr. Johnson is going to take a lab and order a swab and get the results from the lab. So you'll notice that he's documented in the evaluation and the planning sections. Once the lab results are received back by Dr. Johnson, and after reviewing the lab results, he records them on the same active clinical exam screen. He records the diagnosis information, he documents plans to prescribe a drug for the patient, and he speaks with the patient and begins the process to release the patient to go home. Dr. Johnson has recorded in the system that the patient has strep throat based off of the labs that have been received, and you'll notice that those are captured under the diagnosis of the actual document. So Dr. Johnson will now create a prescription for the patient, and he will do that by going to the Applications, Prescriptions, selecting Drug Prescription, and he will then begin to prescribe amoxicillin for the patient. He has prescribed amoxicillin, 1 tablet, 2 times a day. Dr. Johnson completes his examination with the patient, and now the patient is returned to Nurse Betty to prepare the patient for discharge. Nurse Betty logs back into the system and locates the patient's record. Nurse Betty will return to the medical summary screen for this patient. And under the encounter information, she will choose the active encounter. And finally, Nurse Betty will discharge the patient by entering the final date and time and evolution, which is the outcome of the visit, and save the record, which concludes the visit, and the patient is officially discharged. As you can see, the fields are populated, and we'll click Save. And now our patient is considered discharged.